Hey, welcome back to STRonomics. I almost said STR Unfiltered. Sorry,
Oh,
STRonomics. Get the right podcast going here.
shameless plug. Shameless
What's
plug.
that?
So it's a shameless plug right there.
I would never plug my podcast at STR Unfiltered. It's only 10 minutes or less. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, we're going to talk about rankings today in 2024. How do you get to be number one in your Airbnb rankings? Lead the way, Kenneth. This was your idea.
Oh, I thought you were going to take it, but
Oh, you want me to take like the whole thing?
No.
Okay, so here's right.
Yeah.
What do you think the number one thing is that people screw up to increase their rankings?
So, from my experience, there are three major things. Everybody pull out your notebooks if you have a short-term rental right now, because I'm going to drop some bombs. Three major things that impact ranking. So the first one is in the Mac Daddy is pricing. Okay. The second big one is your listing optimization in terms of like your photos, listing description, things like that. And the last one are your amenities. Obviously, so in listing optimization, I'll sneak in ratings and reviews because those also have a massive impact.
I was getting ready to call you out on that, by the way.
I know. Yeah, I forgot to throw that one there. I haven't talked
so
about
those are the top four, really.
Sure. It's like
pricing, optimization, reviews. What was the other one? Amenities,
ratings. I mean, technically five.
Yeah.
You want to break them all out. There's really five. Now, the order, in my opinion, from my experience, I should say, not opinion, from my experience, is first pricing, second rating, third. Actually, back that up. It's reviews, the number of reviews that you have, then your rating, believe it or not. It's more impactful to get the review than to worry about if it's a positive or negative review, believe it or not.
It's amazing. I miss a lot of reviews on Vrbo because I don't send out the request to review just because I forget about it. You know what I mean? And that's something that I think everybody knows. I don't use VAs for my hosting, but I literally should probably have a VA just to do that so I don't forget about it, to be honest with you. It's so important. I mean, that's why we do what we do in the mastermind and, do virtual stays. And well, some people do. I do too.
Here's a fun stat. If you get about 80%, so 75 to 80% of your guests to leave you a review on Airbnb, you have an extreme likelihood of being on page one in most markets.
I implement a strategy of virtual reviews, and it's not just the first three. We've done this in the mastermind for years, right?
Yeah.
It does violate the terms of service with Airbnb and Vrbo, just FYI, so you got to do it correctly. But anytime that I have openings, and especially right now, this time of year, and I kind of strategically do it leading into Christmas, the opening day of, peak summer booking season. And a lot of people think that they should just do the first three to like wipe out the 20%, when they launch, but you should continue to do it. We talked about this, God, it was probably a year ago, Kenny, when you were applying dollar amounts to reviews, right? When you did that research and, you look at, I think if you got to 20 or 25 was kind of the number to get there as quickly as you can, right? So if you do launch a property, in the off season and you're going to have a ton of vacancy, book up those like Sunday and Mondays on Tuesday night with virtual reviews. Not only are you going to hit the numbers on the review side, but you're also going to hit, the rating, on the 5-star reviews as well. I'm going to share something with you. I mean, I talk about a lot are the photos, and, I have now, God, 1, 2, 3, I've had Andrew Keller shoot 6 properties for me in the last 100 days. And I just uploaded images yesterday you did an Instagram reel about it, Sea Haven, that's 2 doors down from my number 1 property a while back that I co-host for a friend of mine. Excuse me. And I looked in owner res. I hadn't had a booking for him for, I think it was like 17, 18 days. I uploaded Andrew's photos yesterday morning. What do you think's happened in like literally the last probably 30, 32 hours?
Booking. Ding.
4 bookings. One I think is in March, like over the spring break area. The other three, averaged about $7,000-8,000 bookings going into the summer months.
Yeah.
And there's like another, I don't remember, like another 3 or 4 inquiries are on the 24 hours, to be able to book as well. So it just same thing that happened with my Banner Elk property when I had him reshoot. And I want everybody to understand that I had good photos, not like the top of the line exceptional photos, right? So how does that impact from a ranking standpoint? Your time on site is definitively a factor. So if you have beautiful, amazing, captivated photos, people are going to look longer through your site, right? So if you study SE, there's no question. The only way you're going to figure out what really works, whether Kenny's full of shit or Bill's full of shit or we're right or we're wrong, is if you test. That's the only way. And I want you to understand that. There is no definitive way to rank number one on Airbnb or definitive way to rank number one on Google. I've been doing SEO at a very high level for, God, almost 15 years now. And Danny Sullivan, Matt Cutts, who used to be the lead of the web spam team, the algorithm at Google, there's no definitive answer. It's honestly, it's what Kenny and I talk about, become that prom king, prom queen. It's the highest quality listing overall that you can put together. There's so many of these indicators, right? Have the right pricing, have the best photos, have the best location, have the best views, have the best design, kind of all of that stuff. You can't just go in and keyword stuff and think that, if I put in, Gulf Shores, or Dollywood, that I'm going to move up, to the number one ranking. But what's really interesting, Kenny, is just how impactful some of these things are versus others, right? So I call it the Carrico method a couple of years ago. I think it might have been when we were in the Gulf Shores in that very first mastermind meeting where he talked about checking every box for every amenity. And I never thought about that. I mean, I don't own any mosquito nets. I do now in every single property. You can get them on Amazon for like $6, right? And, the mini fridge, instead of buying a $300 mini fridge, I buy a 6-can mini fridge for $19 and put them in every single property and check that box. But those things, they will help, but they do not carry the weight of pricing. They do not carry the weight of having 50 reviews versus 5 reviews. They don't carry the weight of being 4.98 versus 4.4, right? So those are the big things. And some of those things on that big side, we can actually control, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I think that also it's kind of market dependent on what's really going to do, like what's kind of like that big thing that gets you up in the rankings, right? Like, it might be, I know there's kind of generic stuff, but it might be pictures during a certain time of the year, whereas another time of the year, like in a very competitive time, like say wintertime, it might be pricing that gets you ranked higher and being very competitive on your pricing. So for example, at my lake property, in the summertime, I don't really do a whole lot of like play with my prices,
Right.
every single day or every week or whatever. It's kind of set it and forget it because it's just going to get occupied, and can really charge a lot. Whereas in the wintertime, I've got to get super aggressive. And that's the only way I'm going to rank higher because everyone else has dropped their rates. Whereas the summertime, if I want to increase, everybody's high. If I want to get higher in the rankings, I just adjust my photo order or I get new photos or whatever that is that draws attention. And all of a sudden, boom, ranking up, more bookings, popularity, get the reviews in, stuff like that. So I like what you said earlier about testing because that's truly it. And it's getting to know your property and your market and the different seasons and how you adjust. So you can't just apply one thing today and assume it's going to work tomorrow.
Well,
right?
that brings up a really important thing that I want to touch on for everybody, right? Especially when you're in all these Facebook groups and people say, oh, it didn't work. I did what Bill said and I update my photos and move them around every 3 days or 5 days or whatever, but it doesn't work. It's because you're not benchmarking and you're not testing. You do one thing at a time. You cannot create a true A/B test doing 2 things or more at one time. You do one thing. So that's why I love Rank Breeze. I can see where my competitors are. I can see where I am. Then I can go in and I can change my title, do one thing, and then wait for the algorithm to update. And I typically wait 2 or 3 days, right? Then I'll go back in and I'll check it. And if it moves up, I'll continue. I'll either leave it and do something else, or I will continue to work on that. But one thing that's really important that I've seen personally is just moving photos around is not as valuable as it used to be. Removing photos and adding photos is a completely different thing than just moving your photo order around. So if you think about that, like right now, we're getting into the transition for a lot of people of coming out of winter, coming out of ski season, coming out of snow season, even though it's still snowing everywhere, and starting to book into spring and summer seasons. So even like my North Carolina, my Montana properties, well, I don't have any snow photos in Montana. I'll get those in the next couple of days when I go out there. But like the North Carolina properties, I'm moving some. Instead of like taking my summer photos, Kenny, and moving them to the back of the listing, I've started removing them, putting them back in the Dropbox. Just have the winter ones, and I have usually like 4 or 5 or 6 of them. Now I'm taking those out. I'm leaving some because I'm still in the heart of ski season, right? But now I'm putting some in, and then literally underneath, I might put fly fishing, or I might put tubing or whatever, hiking at Grandfather Mountain. It's not too early to be thinking about summer. Underneath summer bookings now available, so they see that stuff. And I don't see very many people trying to take advantage of the copywriting, to really, say, oh my God, they're booking for summer hours. Some people think maybe I should only book 30 days in advance. Give them a reason. So moving the photos in and out is a big deal compared to just reordering them today.
Yeah, I agree with that. Going back to the amenities though, once again, certain markets, you're going to see some amenities actually have an impact on ranking. Adding certain big amenities, so like hot tubs, pools. I've even seen like some bumps from having EV chargers, but pet friendly is a big one. One that's really underrated, and I think will grow in popularity over the next few years. I'm hearing more and more people talk about is handicap accessible. So I think that right now, I mean, it's like, oh, okay, like, I got all these steps and that's not going to work. But in the future, I mean, there's sites that are actually popping up that are specifically for only handicap accessible properties. And that is a filter in Airbnb. And if your property could be, and I'm not saying go completely change your property, to be handicap accessible, but if it's like almost there, I would figure out a way to potentially add that, and that can add a nice little boost as well.
Kenny, my first lake property that I purchased was ADA compliant, handicap accessible, and the master had a roll-in shower, and I wanted to rip it out immediately and put in a tile shower and all that type of stuff with glass doors. And Bria's like, no, we can't do that. There might be people that have wheelchairs that want to come in, and we had 36-inch doors, all that type of stuff. And I never thought right off the bat to market it that way, to being accessible. I had nothing in the listing. But what happened is that people would see the shower with the handrails in it, and the handrail and the master above the toilet that we never removed. And they would see the walkway, which was really a ramp coming off the side of the driveway around the back of the house. And they would ask if the property was accessible. I owned that house for probably only about 1.5 years. And then I did a cash on equity, reposition and upgraded. But it's interesting. I'm just guessing. I'll bet at least 10% of our guests had wheelchairs or walkers or something like that. Remember, handicap accessible is not just somebody confined to a wheelchair. That technically it is, but it could be somebody that has a walker that needs to take their walker, into a shower or something along those lines. So you really, I think it was pretty narrow-minded for my part, but now I think there is a big market, and I think it's going to get bigger and bigger, especially with boomers as they get older and older, right? Which is the largest, one of our generations right now. The
Especially
other thing that people
older and older towards retirement, right, Bill?
Do what?
So especially as you get older and older, closer to retirement.
I'm getting younger.
Right?
I'm getting younger. I'm getting slimmer. I'm getting, I'm going to dye my hair before the conference. I'm going to get some Botox. I'm going to be good. I'm going to look younger. It's Cocoon.
Oh my goodness.
Cocoon. Me and Wilford Brimley. I'm just kidding. The other thing that people don't talk about a lot, Kenny, is testing your cancellation policy. And Airbnb, was it Airbnb or Vrbo? I think it was Airbnb. No, it was Vrbo that just came out, right? With the ability to customize your cancellation policies by season, right? So that's something I look at. I will always have a strict cancellation policy going through the summer. That's a hard thing if I can't do that by season, right? So I've wanted to, I would love to be moderate, or even flexible in December and January, when that's the downtime, but I want to protect. I couldn't do that with $15,000 or $20,000 a week bookings, during the summer. So and I can't remember which platform it was. Do you know which one it was? I just got the email like last week. Whichever one it is, as that rolls out, that's going to be something you're really going to want to play with, is going to be your cancellation policies. And I think the other thing is really pricing. There are pricing strategies to where you can lower your pricing today that's really not going to affect, your overall ADR by pricing your super way out. Like I keep my calendars open, Kenny. I think it's 2 years is the max that you can do it.
Yeah. Open
And
it
then
up.
I will go out like in January, February of next year and like literally lower my pricing, by like 75%, because nobody is booking those off days of Tuesday, Wednesdays, Mondays in the middle of those days at the beach this far in advance. So if I can do that to offset, get through the cycle, then update those and then do it again farther in the future, it's just a way to be able to offset your overall pricing, which is what Airbnb is looking at. In most cases, they also look at the individual dates in comparison to other properties as well.
Right. Yeah, I agree on that. Yeah, fees too. I think most people, though, hopefully by now, most people are gotten rid of their fees, not cleaning fees, but just other fees. And if you can, I'd eat that. Like if you have some sort of resort fee or other things like that, I would try to swallow that pill, and sneak that into your ADR, because those also will hurt your ranking as well, believe it or not.
And it hurts conversion.
It
It's
does.
that shock and awe effect, especially as you get up into the higher pricing. Holy smokes. I took a $31,000 booking for one of the new properties in the OBX in July. And you know what the fees were? It was like $2,700 in fees.
Oh my goodness.
It's ridiculous. It's insane. So the shock and awe, you don't know the opportunity cost lost. So a lot of people have like a community fee, a linen fee, whatever it is, a cleaning fee. We used to call an STC charge in the limousine industry, screw the chauffeur charge, because operators, they would pay their gratuity based on the trip ticket, and they would make this ridiculous 9%, 10%, because then the chauffeur wouldn't get tipped on it. Not any type of those fees that are unbundled scare people, right? So it's not just a ranking standpoint, it's going to be from a conversion standpoint as well. The more you can keep your pricing seamless to what they see up front, the higher conversion rate you're going to end up having.
Yes, I agree. And now there's that guest favorite badge. So that also, if you don't have it, figure out a way to get it. So I haven't done too much research into like what the requirements are for that, because I've seen, like they say, I've heard one thing and I've seen properties at the other bill, but there's some things in terms of like the guest favorite badge, in terms of helping you rank higher, and also, I mean, really for conversion as well. So
all of those things that they do something superhost status, and I get whatever number, like is it over 50% now or superhost, Kenny? It's like a ridiculously high number, right? It's kind of like trying to go through TSA pre-check now. It's faster to go through the non-pre-check than it is pre-check at most airports.
right.
So you just got to keep leveling up and doing all these different things. You do want the favorite badge. You do want to be as high rated as you can. But really, just to kind of wrap this up, pricing is going to be your biggest one. If you don't have more reviews than your competitors, then start doing virtual stays, in your downtime. And then, you need to look at pricing. You need to get your reviews up, make sure that you're getting high reviews from your guests. And then I'm a huge believer in staging and your photos. You need to go out, and especially moving into 2024. We talked about, go back to our last podcast. Every single podcast, you're going to hear Kenny and Bill say unique, right? So if you have great design, then you need to showcase that with the best photos and specifically your unique value propositions that you have within your property.
I agree. Yeah, I think we said it all. So we got pricing,
reviews and ratings.
back, right? Higher you rate, you're rated. And then we talked about listing optimization amenities. So those amenities are kind of last, to be honest. So think about that as you're doing that. Pictures are going to
Say
really
that one more
market
time.
amenities the best.
Say that one more time. Amenities are about last.
Yeah.
So those of you that have been going out and buying that 3-bedroom, 2-bath in Kissimmee or Broken Bow and think that you can just add a hot tub and a fire pit and a mural and you're going to be good, that doesn't work. It does not work. You've got to buy location. You've got to buy proximity. You've got to buy unique. And if there's if you can't,
and the reason, let me explain why it doesn't work. Because it won't impact your rankings. It only helps with conversion. But if you're not up in the rankings, it's like a cause and effect, right? If you're not up in the rankings, then no one's going to see your page to be able to convert. So
Agreed.
That's why. Like we have to kind of have this like 1-2 punch with conversion. So like ranking, then conversion. We need people to see it and then convert. So
I couldn't agree with you more. And let me see if I can find this super quick. Yeah, I'm gonna share my screen real quick, just for those of you that are watching this on YouTube.
First
right?
ever Bill
This is the
Faeth
first ever screen share
on
on
the
a
STRonomics podcast. Yeah.
Awesome, I love it. So look at this, Kenny. Is that not one of the coolest murals that's like 30 feet long in an awesome kitchen?
It's okay.
That is, yeah.
I'm just
okay.
kidding. It's
That's
pretty
beautiful,
awesome.
right? That
Yeah,
is an awesome image. And it's incredible. I love the tile. I love everything about this. It's an extraordinary kitchen. But you know what that doesn't do? It doesn't move the needle for rankings.
That's
right?
correct.
It does nothing for rankings. The only thing this does is help convert, right? That's it. So if this was an average 3-2 in Gulf Shores, this is the new 7-bedroom with 2 bunk rooms that sleeps like 22 people. It's not going to do any good. Especially if this is at like tier 4, you know what I mean? This is tier 2, directly across the street. At value stacks a bunch of different stuff. It's got a heated pool. It's got this stuff. It's got a bunch of great stuff. But that kitchen, just the tile and that mural is not going to move the needle for anybody. I think people think that's going to move the needle for them, and it's not.
Yeah, I like that.
It's one element. Awesome. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We will see you next week on the STRonomics Show.